Welcome to Plan9Crunch, and it's Christmas time. And we're going to do what is sort of a Christmas movie. Certainly its climax takes place on Christmas Eve, so I'll consider it a Christmas movie. It's The Curse of the Cat People. It was actually released in March of 1944. And it is a direct sequel to a classic film that we have talked about before, Cat People. And in Cat People, Simone played Irina, who married Oliver. Irina was a fashion designer, and Oliver was, I think he was in public relations or something, all right? It's not that important. But anyways, Irina was from Serbia, and she was part of people that would turn into cats, dangerous cats, when there was heavy emotion, whether it be sexual or anger or things like that. So it didn't work out. And things got really bad when Oliver fell in love with Alice, who he was working with. And there are some great scenes in Cat People. We've shown them on Plan9Crunch. There was a psychiatrist, I can't remember his name right now, but it's George Sanders' brother, who did not follow his oath, tried to make the moves on Irina, and he got killed in that movie. So Irina dies at the end. What's interesting about Irina, beautiful, beautiful Simone woman, is she was a sympathetic character, even in Cat People. She didn't want what was happening to her. So Curse of the Cat People is a sequel, and Oliver and Alice are married, and they have a little girl named Amy. And I think she was played by Ann Perry. We'll have to look. Ann Reed. You know what, I shouldn't do these things because trying to talk off the top of my head, let's just find it really quick. Okay, she was played by Ann Carter. And Amy is their little girl. She's 6 years old, and she's kind of introverted. It's not easy for her to get along with kids. By the way, Kent Smith plays Oliver, and Jane Randolph, who you might have seen if you're a cult film fan, in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, plays Oliver's wife, Alice. So Amy is introverted, she doesn't really have friends, and she wants a friend very badly. Oliver is a little bit concerned. Alice is less concerned at the beginning. So Amy goes and tries to make friends, but she just doesn't have that talent right now. And so she's wandering off later, and she comes to an old house. And there's an old woman in the upstairs flat. They're calling to her and throwing down things for her. One is a ring, which is called a wishing ring. And so the old woman has a daughter the old woman's name is Julia, and the old woman has a daughter named Barbara, who is very glum and very unhappy and even threatening at times. She's played by Elizabeth Russell. Elizabeth Russell was a striking actress who didn't achieve a lot of fame, but is known in cult films. She has a cameo in Cat People. It's not the same character, but she has a cameo where she comes in looking like a cat when they're having an engagement dinner for Irina and Oliver, and she just hisses at Irina, "Sister." So that's probably her most famous role. So eventually, Amy goes home. She takes the wishing ring and asks for a friend. And this beautiful woman materializes outside, becomes Amy's friend. And that's Irina. It's her ghost, played by, like I said, Simone. But no one else can really see her at this time. Amy eventually talks more with Julia and gets told the story of the Headless Horseman. All right? And they have a butler named Edward, played by Sir Lancelot, who's in a lot of cult films, particularly RKO films. And he's a singer also. He doesn't sing in this film, but I Walk with a Zombie, he sings quite a bit. And he doesn't feel comfortable having Amy going to these strangers, so he takes her out before Julia can finish the Headless Horseman to Amy. And Amy has a nightmare from the Headless Horseman. And she grabs the wishing well and says, "Oh man, give me a friend." And that's what brought her Irina, and they communicate, and Irina tries to comfort her. Jack, I've been yabbing on for a few minutes, so why don't we watch the trailer?
Do you know why I came to you, Amy? Because you called to me. And I came. So that your childhood could be bright and full of friendliness. But you must promise never to tell anyone about me.
Not even Daddy or Mommy?
No. This must be a friendship that only we shall have.
Why, Daddy, you know my friend, too.
You couldn't know this woman. She died before you were born.
Oliver, please, let's not go on with this. The child's trembling.
If that child comes here again, I'll kill her. Yes, I'll kill her.
Mrs. Farrell! Mrs. Farrell! Mrs. Farrell!
Oh, little girl. I have to hide you. I'll have to hide you, little girl. My little girl is in her room, waiting to kill you. We mustn't let her find you.
Thank you, Jack. It kind of makes it look like a horror film, which I guess it is in a way, but it's more really a semi-gentle fable about a little girl discovering her imaginary friend. Then there may be a hint of the supernatural in it. Gunter von Fritsch was the first director of this film. He did shorts. He went over budget, so he basically, although he shares screen credit, was replaced, and Robert Wise, who's a famous director, directed The Haunting, took over. And they brought this film in for like $212,000 when they wanted to spend $147,000. That, of course, is several million in today's dollars. And RKO executives were a little bit worried about the box office potential of the film because it really isn't a horror film. It's sort of, like I said, a dark fable, and it's very gentle at times, and the ghost is a very nice ghost. And so they insisted on the title, The Curse of the Cat People, which doesn't make much sense. Val Lewton, the producer, wanted to call it Amy and Her Friend, which probably is the best title. But I kind of like the fact that it has the cat people in it because it is a direct sequel. So you notice in the trailer that Amy sees pictures of Irina that, I gotta tell you something. Irina died violently, all right? And their marriage got annulled. So I'm thinking that the character Kent Smith played, Oliver, if he's leaving photos of her around the house, I think he kind of has kind of a thing for her still, you know. He's carrying a torch, even though he's married. And he portrays a father who feels guilty. And particularly when she sees a picture of them together, and he loses it a little bit, punishes her. And she starts to cry, and so Irina comes to Amy and says, I'm causing problems. You need to love your parents more or less. I'm going to go now. And that causes Amy to cry and run out on Christmas Eve into a snowstorm, which you saw how it was out there. And I'm not, I hesitate to give away films, but I'm going to talk about what you saw in the trailer because the trailer sort of gave it away. At the very end, Amy goes to the old actress Julia Farren, who tries to protect her. Julia Farren is clearly suffering from dementia. All right, she claims that her daughter is an imposter. She's worried her daughter's going to kill Amy. And what happens is Julia, while trying to protect Amy, suffers a heart attack and dies on the stairwell. And then her daughter, I say again, there never was a more menacing presence, beautiful presence, than Elizabeth Russell in a film. And she's coming at her. You don't know what she's going to do. And you saw on the trailer that Amy was able to superimpose, somehow bring Irina's face to Barbara's, and then gives her a big hug, and it sort of changes things, changes what could be a potentially dangerous situation for the child. Like I said before, I consider this a Christmas film. There are scenes of holiday parties. There are scenes of caroling around, and there's also a scene about Amy was supposed to have a party for her friends. No one showed up, and somehow Amy thought that if she put the invitation envelopes in a tree, they would be delivered. Some of these things that take place in Tarrytown, New York, in the more rural outskirts area, were things that producer Val Lewton remembered as a child. The tree, for example, and also the Headless Horseman and things like that, which is a key story told in the book. This film got middling reviews in the mid-40s, not more positive than negative, but wasn't considered a great film like it is now. If I can remember that, well, I'll just say that a leading magazine recently considered this film the 35th greatest film ever made, which, when you consider how many films are made, that's pretty good. And it's a very I hate using the term surreal, so I'll try to avoid that, but it's very magical, enchanting type of film, and it's like watching a modern, if you consider 1944 modern compared to earlier, fairy tale of a little girl looking for a friend, finding a friend, and somehow it eventually transforms to where she ends up having a better relationship with friends and her parents. I like this film a lot. It wasn't what I was expecting when I first tuned into The Curse of the Cat People, but it's a very good film. I'm glad they made it this way. I don't believe it made a lot of money for RKO, but it stood the test of time to where it's a very well-known film. It's going to be on Turner Classic Movies in about 6 or 7 days, so you can catch it there. Just check the things, and it's not too expensive to find. And it's another example of what can be a holiday film that's kind of out of the ordinary, because as I mentioned, this does finish on Christmas Eve, so I would definitely call it a holiday film, a far better one than, say, Silent Night, Deadly Night, right? And so, don't know much more to say about this film. I'm just thinking right now. It was filmed in Los Angeles. Let's see. Simone had a pretty good career. She was considered a bit temperamental, but she hung around for a while. Jane Randolph, like I mentioned, she was in some Saint movies, and then of course she was in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. And Kent Smith was a star for a while. He was a grade B star, but he's very good in the film. And the funny thing about Elizabeth Russell is she had a lot of movies in the 40s, and I was watching a Bowery Boys movie. One, I can't remember the title, but they were battling hillbillies in some Hollywood idea of what rural America is. And unbilled in the mid-50s, Elizabeth Russell turns up as Ma. I can't remember her last name, but she's like the Ma of these hillbillies, which was really bizarre. I wonder if she was just at the set and they asked her to spend a day there, because she wasn't billed in it. She's in one of the Inner Sanctum movies. I think it's Wild Woman, that Lon Chaney made. She's also, of course, if you're a Bela Lugosi fan, she plays the Countess in The Corpse Vanishes, who's being kept alive, kept at a young age, even though she's like 70 or 80, by the spinal fluid of a young woman or something, or blood. I don't know what it was, but it's a great movie, Corpse Vanishes. So anyways, Merry Christmas, and this is Plan 9 Crunch. Give us a subscribe at Plan 9 Crunch on YouTube. Give us a like at Plan 9 Crunch on TikTok. And give us a like or a subscribe at Plan 9 Crunch podcast and blog on Facebook. And I may have a review. Oh, I'm going to review Curse of the Cat People later on our conventional blog this month. I've reviewed Cat People, so I might as well do Curse of the Cat People. That's Plan9Crunch.com. So I'm Doug Gibson. Have a great holiday again. And that's a wrap.